Hi, good evening, everyone. So, Aditya, we are live now.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good, good. How are you, ma'am?
Very well. So, guys, we are here today again with another success story, another one of our own. So, Aditya is a Clat Possible student who went on to clearing his Clat examination, and he ended up doing his law from the very best of our country, which is the NLSIU Bangalore. And as of now, he is associated with one of the best law firms of our country, which is Amarchand Mangaldas. And so, hence, this is very, very important for all the law students. We will talk about the entire thing, your journey, why did you choose Clat Possible, and then later on we'll start off with Amarchand Mangaldas. So, first things first, Aditya, which were you a commerce student or a non-medical student?
I was a commerce student, ma'am.
Right. So was law always your dream?
Not really. So until like class ninth or 10th, I was as confused as anyone would be in my position. So it was only a little later that I got some clarity when I spoke to people at Clat Possible. And fortunately, my brother had also done law by that time. So there was someone to guide me there. And he's the one who guided me to Surbi ma'am and Clat Possible because he was a student there as well.
Hmm. Okay, that's nice. And so during your time, if you can, talk about some kind of a memory that you have associated with Clat Possible, that that is something that you always associate CP with.
I primarily associate CP with during my time we had multiple teachers, but I really enjoyed GK classes by Sanjay sir or the English classes when Surbi ma'am used to take them because those classes didn't really seem like classes at all because that was a conversation that was happening in class, and most of the time it was some like not a very big batch. At least in my batch was around, my particular class was 20-30 people at most,
Hmm.
and out of those also not everyone showed up because not everyone was seriously preparing for CLAT. So at the end of the day, even though there were like 6-7 batches simultaneously for the same program, everyone got some personalized attention,
Hmm.
and everyone had the opportunity of just directly talking to the teacher, which I think is something that helped me a lot.
Yes, yes. And that is something that we stand by even now. So the batch strength remains the same because, well, a child is coming for coaching for one thing and one thing only, they want to make it.
Hmm.
And for that, obviously, they require a lot of attention from their teachers. So that is nice. So, talk us through your preparation for CLAT. What was difficult? What was easy? What was a nightmare?
So I think legal and logic as such was something that was covered in class only. So I didn't put a lot of effort in those two subjects, apart from doing the sheets that I got in class or just reading up on the material.
Hmm.
One thing that I had to put a lot of effort in was GK, for the very reason that's not something that doesn't come naturally to anyone who's in class 10th, 11th, or 12th. That's something that's very new. So the thing that helped me a lot, and that is something that Sanjay sir had suggested me, was going through the daily news from every day and trying to make notes, because at the end of the day you can't cram up 6-7 months of GK in one day, and it also helps you if you just do it on a daily basis. So I had a register where I used to write at least one page every day of the current affairs.
Hmm.
So that's in also inculcated some sort of consistency and discipline in terms of just mm, giving something half an hour every day.
Hmm.
And it also keeps you abreast of all the information, which is helpful in daily mocks and in the final exam.
Right. And which part of the entire examination was very easy for you?
So I was always interested in maths, and fortunately, the year I gave CLAT was the year where the maths was very bad. So
Oh,
there were people who scored in negative in maths because that was, I think, 2018 CLAT. So having an edge in maths, which I feel is true to this day, because most of the people, from personal experience, from my batchmates in the coaching center, from my batchmates and 5 years of law school,
hmm.
one thing is for certain, that a lot of people pick CLAT because they're scared of maths. So
Right.
if you are good at maths, that gives you an inherent edge. So while the four sections decide whether or not you clear CLAT, maths will decide which college you get after you clear CLAT.
Yeah,
Because
and this,
yeah.
yes, this is a very, very pertinent point, and I think every law aspirant should actually listen to this because you end up, most of the kids, they end up avoiding this particular section. A, the questions are less. B, they don't like it at all. But
Hmm.
I think if you have a strong hand over this particular section, your 10 to 11 marks are absolutely sorted, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Yes. So, Aditya, that means you entered college pre-COVID, and then you've
Yeah.
seen COVID during college time, and
Yeah.
then yeah. So how was that? How was NLSIU Bangalore in COVID?
So I think one thing that I would give to my college administration would definitely be that we didn't lose a lot of classes. We lost a maximum of 5 days due to COVID, because on the sixth day we were online, we were back on track, and we didn't really miss out anything.
Yes.
Was not very heartening to see as a student back then, but like now when I think about it, it's actually benefited everyone a lot, because your curriculum is sorted. You are The exams, the way they were conducted, they were still in the same format. We had proctored online exams which were time bound. I have friends in other colleges who didn't have exams for 6 7 months, which really felt like it was very unfair back then. But now it seems like it's still better, because by at the time of COVID, I was in class, I was in the third year, which is the year where your law subjects really begin. So
Yes.
having some basic understanding of those subjects was very important, which
Yes.
was difficult in COVID.
Right. So we have a question, Aditya.
Yeah.
Tanya says, "What is the strategy for covering current affairs for CLAT according to Sir?"
So as I said, that it's the best strategy is that on a daily basis, take out half an hour, go to these websites. There was GK today, and there are a couple of websites. You just need to scroll through them. You need to just write down whatever you think is relevant, and that is something that you can easily figure out by the monthly compendium. So whenever just pick up the last month's compendium, see the kind of news that they are recording. Just start doing it on a daily basis, and that gives you two advantages. One, you're not cramming up everything in one day before the mock or before the actual exam. And second being that because you've done it on a daily basis, there is more time to remember stuff. You can make anecdotes, you can relate these news to something that you might remember at the day of the exam or during a mock, which is very difficult to do if you're doing it 50 pages in one day.
Hmm. Right. Okay. So now talk me through the day that you got your result for CLAT.
That was a very pleasant day, because I still remember, because I called up Surbi ma'am and I told her that I got All India rank 35. And the first thing she had to say was that during that time, there was a lot of hue and cry about how the class should happen again, because there were a lot of technical snags throughout the country. And the first thing she told me was, so if it happens again, I want a single digit rank, huh? Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
Done, ma'am. So that was a very pleasant day, because then after that we went to the center and everyone just met up, and we had those we had a very chill time after that. It
Yeah.
was also a very surreal experience, because I had given CLAT during my class 12th also, and I had gotten through GNLU, and
Hmm.
I had taken a drop thinking that I don't want to go to GNLU. So that was also a day where I got a lot of relief, that
Hmm.
because the first day I walked into coaching after dropping GNLU, the only question everyone had was, "इस बार नहीं हुआ तो इस बार नहीं हुआ तो," and that
Yeah.
was a very difficult question to answer for 1 year, for
Hmm.
not just people in coaching, for even my parents.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of relief.
I know that's a very personal decision, and it totally depends upon you whether you'd like to
Hmm.
answer that. But what made you give the examination again? Was it just rank one, the first college in the country, the topmost college, or was it more than that?
Um, Honestly, it was just it was a very personal decision, because everyone told me not to do it, because CLAD is a very unpredictable exam with respect to how you are on that particular day. Maybe you gotten rank one in all your mocks, but that day is just not your day. Maybe you just ate something not very nice and you're not feeling well, you can't give the exam. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of variables there. The reason why I took a drop was uh, once I started preparing for CLAT, I was clear that I wanted to go to Bangalore. And that is just something that motivated me to take that decision.
That's very nice, sir. And how is life at NLSIU Bangalore?
Um, so the one thing that everyone understood in the first week itself was that once you reach there, it's the creme de la creme. So your ranks, no matter you were a state topper, no matter you have a single rank or single digit rank, it doesn't matter once you are there. Your
Yeah.
ranks are very inconsequential. But what that place does give you is one, a strong alum base. So whatever you want to do,
Mm.
from if you want to become a baker in life, I have people, my seniors, who have just quit law and started baking because they just like doing that. Two, if you want to become, we have an alum who keeps coming to campus and giving us information or just general gyan about how to survive after law school, who is a counsel with the World Bank. So there is a lot of variety in terms of what you want to do and how you can get there.
Mm.
Irrespective of what you want to do, one thing I can assure you, that if you get to Bangalore, there will be a line of seniors before you who has already done it. So you will never be walking a path that you don't have any guidance on, which
Mm.
I think in itself is something that is nothing short of a gold mine.
Yes, absolutely. So the next question is from Jyoti Chopra. She says, what are the options after graduation?
Okay, so there are a multitude of options. I will just elaborate on the general options that people take. So one is that a lot of people prefer litigation. So they either enroll in someone's chamber or start working with a senior counsel, where they try to get experience with respect to advocacy, drafting, and the other skills that are necessary for setting up your own chamber, maybe 4 years or 5 years down the line. Another very sought after, and at this point a very uh, standard practice, is joining a law firm, for
Mm.
the very simple reason that law firms give you a great salary, and they also make you work on very cutting edge work. Because right out of law school, I have done some matters with in my team that I don't think I would ever get to do even 10-15 years down the line. And the only reason I get to work on that is because I'm associated with this firm that has a very good name.
Mm.
The third option is that you clerk with a justice. You can clerk with a justice of a high court or the Supreme Court.
Mm.
And now the Supreme Court particularly has a separate exam that they have for their law clerks. The other high courts still have it on a very individual basis, where the judge takes an interview or you get through the registry. Not a very streamlined process like an exam that the Supreme Court has.
Mm.
In addition to that, there are also opportunities that you can avail of in terms of working in-house. So during my campus placements, there were a lot of companies ranging from Reliance to Axis Banks to some PSUs who had come to campus. So if you want to work in those companies, you can just get that also right off the bat.
Mm.
And those are the major options. Other than that, if you want something the niche to do, the options are always open.
Okay. Okay. All right. So what drew you towards corporate law?
So primarily what I liked about working in a law firm is, one, the salary, which I don't think if anyone says otherwise, they're lying.
Mm.
The second thing that I really liked was the structure that it provides you and the kind of work it gives you access to.
Mm.
Because some very big ticket legal matters that you hear about in playing out in open media,
Mm.
and some very complex question of law that the Supreme Court has not even settled come up, and you get to work on that even at the smallest level. Because starting off, you are a resource that will be working on drafting or research, and you'll obviously not get the glory of going there and arguing, but the fact that you are involved in that matter, you know what is happening, you know what strategy you are going to take or what you would suggest that you should take.
Mm.
All those aspects is something that I found very intriguing.
Mm. Right. So, Aditya, in 2024, uh, do you feel law right now is a very safe place for women?
I do feel that, because I have seen, at least in my batch, there was a majority of women as opposed to men,
Mm.
and even and my junior batches as well. That number has only gone up,
Mm.
and I've all things considered, I honestly feel that women make better lawyers because they're just more organized, they're
Mm.
more dedicated,
Argumentative.
more argumentative. I am not. I think that's a
Strong.
stereotype that can depend. That's definitely a benefit if you do that.
Yeah.
But I just feel that this profession requires you to be dedicated and organized, which I think a lot of the women that I have actually interacted with are. So that is something that's very good.
Nice. Next question is from Suhani. She says, how to increase mock scores if they have been stagnant for a long time, and what is considered an average score in a mock?
So I'll answer the second one first. There's no average score in a mock because it's just sorry, 1 second. Yeah, sorry. So there's no average score in a mock because it's very subjective. So if the rank one is getting 100 and you get 95, it's a very great rank. It's a very great score. But if the rank one is getting 150 and you get 120, then it's a very average score.
Yes.
So that would honestly depend on the level of the mock.
Hmm.
As opposed to how you can increase your marks if they've been stagnant for a long time. I think one thing that helped me a lot was analyzing my mocks.
Hmm.
So where is the plateau? Why am I not increasing those marks? It's a very even division with respect to GK, English, legal, and logic. And if you just sit down and look at your past three mocks, you'll realize that this section has maybe like 40 marks in total. I'm getting 20 for the past three mocks. This is some place that I can increase. So you particularly work in that particular section. The second step is you look at the questions you keep getting wrong. If someone is getting, say, familial relations wrong, or if someone is getting some sort of logic questions wrong, you start practicing more of that in your general sheets so that your 20 marks are already secure. What's problematic is the other 20. And in those, if you can highlight some 5, 7 marks that you're getting wrong every time, that will make a huge impact in your rank and in your average score.
Right. Okay. So the next is Soumya. She says practicing for the judiciary is a good option or not after graduation.
No, it definitely is. I have a couple of friends who are preparing for judiciary, and there's one that actually got through recently through the Delhi judiciary. So that option is always open. And that option actually, it also helps you where you have a good alum base, because then you have a good guidance with respect to what you should prepare, what kind of, because every state has their own judiciary exam, every state has different requirements and different types of thing that they ask. So knowing what kind of questions to prepare or what to do in those exams is something that's very beneficial.
Yeah, no, so I think what she's trying to say is should she practice as an advocate and will that help her in her judicial preparation?
Okay. So that definitely would help you with respect to knowing the practicalities of law as opposed to just reading about it while you're preparing. The only caveat being that if you are a practicing advocate, the problem becomes the time management, because if you are a litigating lawyer, you from 10 to at least 5, you're on your feet in one court or another. And after 5, you come back, you do your briefings and you do your preparation for the other day. So after that hectic day, getting back to preparing for judiciary is something that might be a little hard.
Okay. Okay. Next question is by Mukul. He says how to increase scores in the CR section.
So it's as simple as I said for the other sections as well. So for critical reasoning, the only thing that you can do is there are only 4 to 5 types of questions that Clat gives you. So if you are facing, first of all, you sit down with your teacher, you recognize or you identify the kinds of question you're getting wrong on a regular basis, then try focusing more on those particular questions. So I won't be able to give you any formula with respect to all the questions. Every question will have their own nitty-gritties. So the only thing that I can tell you is just identify the question you're getting wrong every time. Sit with your teacher, ask them, sit with Surbi ma'am, ask them what to do in this particular question, what to do in this type of question. And I think that should be it.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So, Aditya, in your workplace, is it just NLU graduates or do you also have non-NLU graduates?
No, we have a lot of non-NLU graduates as well, and they get in through internships.
Right, right. So, my point being, what is it that you think is your strong suit or your strong point because of your academics and your college?
I think one advantage that NLUs, actually two advantages that NLUs have still over non-NLUs, and I don't and mean this with the utmost respect, but the kind of exposure that it gets you with respect to the competitions that you have access to. For an example, we have a moot court called the William C. Wiz, which is an arbitration law moot that's been happening for almost 30 years now. So,
Okay.
and that gives you a very real life experience on how arbitration works, because they don't give you a moot proposition. They do a document dump on you for some 100 documents. You have to make your case out of those documents. You have to argue your case, cite authorities, and just as close to an arbitration as it can be. And having that kind of exposure when you are right out of your college for your first arbitration of a first hearing or anything of that sort gives you a very big advantage in terms of how to go about it. You are not very disheveled when you are given some 100 documents to read over a span of 1 month or over a span of a week for that matter. So
Okay.
just having that exposure. And the second thing being that the fact that these colleges have been around for so long that they have made a name for themselves. So for if you are coming from any of those colleges, there is an implicit bias with respect to that, oh, if you've gone to this college, it is given that you are smart. That bias is something that will give you maybe one or two extra mistakes that you can make, as opposed to someone who will have to prove themselves right off the bat.
Mm.
So those are the, I think, two advantages that someone from an NLU might have, but those are not advantages that are absolute. If
Mm.
you keep making mistakes, if you keep
Yes, of course.
disappointing your seniors, those advantages will also go away.
Yeah. Okay, so we have more questions. One is from Sohani. She says, was there any strategy that you followed while solving the mocks?
So my strategy was very simple. It was that the sections that I was very confident about GK because I used to do it on a regular basis. I used to first do GK because once you've done, in my time, it was a 200 mark paper. So there were 50 questions for GK. So once I was done with those 50 questions, I knew that 1/4 of the mock is over. And GK could hardly take me some 7, 8 minutes because you know the answer or you don't know the answer and you move on. So no, at the back of your head, it's also you're running against the clock. So knowing that you've finished 1/4 of the mock gives you a little breathing space where you can focus on the other questions if they are difficult.
Hmm.
So one would be that, and the second would be that if you know that you're getting some type of question wrong in every mock, and if you're stuck in that question, move on from that question. Don't make it an ego battle that no, how can I've practiced this question 7 times. How do I not get this right? You don't get this right, you don't get it right. The end goal is to get the most amount of marks, not to get one particular question right.
Yeah, right. Correct. So, yeah, so there was another one, but I can't see it anywhere. So, my next question was again, so you've given me a NLU, non NLU comparison. Now, give me a comparison between an NLSIU Bangalore graduate vis-a-vis other NLUs. What is that added advantage that you get over your peers or over your colleagues or anyone for that matter because of the fact, I mean, because you are from NLSIU Bangalore?
Um, I think the best example for this would be that when law firms or any company or anyone sends people, actually, I'll just tell you a story which will help me make this point. During our day zero, we had a very big company coming in,
Hmm.
which wanted to come on. So there's a concept of day zero, then there's day one. Day zero is mostly the law firms, day one are the in-house companies that come in. That company, it's a very big company and they wanted to come on day zero, but we had a policy that we only invite people from law firms on day zero, so we invited them for day one.
This
They
is
got
for
pissed with
placement, right?
this is for placement.
Hmm.
They got pissed off with that and they told us point blank on our face that we are not going to come to your campus if you don't invite us on day zero.
Hmm.
And we were restrained for whatever reasons. We told them that the only spot we can offer you is day one. The HR just
And
stormed
is it a
off.
good one?
I mean, yeah, it is as good as it gets.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we just had some constraint because we talked to the law firms and they told us that we would not be comfortable, and the law firms were our biggest employers. So we had to just tell them that you can't come on day zero, you have to come on day one. They stormed off. They told us we're not coming. The end of story. 3, 4 days later, I get a message from their general counsel, who happens to be an alum, asking me why that company is not coming for campus placement this time. I explained the situation to him, and that guy is some 25 years senior to me. He tells me that we will come to campus. I'm talking to the HR. I'll come to day one. I don't care. It's not possible that we don't go to NLS.
Nice.
That kind of power or that kind of just understanding that having that alum base gets you is
Hmm.
something that is unique to NLS for this very simple reason that we have the first movers advantage. NLS
Very
started
nice.
off in 1988. So
Hmm.
that's the only limited advantage I feel that we have as of now. Because
Very
even
nice.
right now, most of the senior advocates, a lot of the senior advocates, a lot of the uh, partners in these law firms, all of them are alums. So whenever you talk to them, you always have a common point to start off at. Ki, oh, same college, sir. Same college.
Hmm. Yes. All right. Next question. Uh, says, sir, what is the difference? to get admitted in NLU and non-NLU, is it going to impact our legal career? See, what is the difference? I'll tell you, beta, is an examination, right? So the common law admission test is for NLUs. Right now, we have 26 of them, NLU Meghalaya being the latest one. And one of these NLUs, they have their own examination called ALIT, which is for NLU Delhi. For the non-NLUs, you have other examinations such as MHCET, you have SLAT for symbiosis, so on and so forth. Now, the second part of the question I'd like for Aditya to answer says, is it going to impact our legal career if we are not
Mm.
from a national law university?
Not at all. No, you have ample opportunities, even if you are from a non-NLU college. That, and I see that on a daily basis. I interact with these people. They are opposing counsels. They are bad teammates. They are people in the same floor sitting like I am. I hang out with them. They sometimes I take advice from them because they have been in this profession much longer than I have been. So that does not it just gives you maybe 1% edge if you are from an NLU, but that does not define the rest of your career.
Hmm. Very true. And so nicely put. ठीक है. Then is Ruby Verma. She says, Sir, how many hours one should devote daily to Clat? And listen now, Aditya, there's another thing is that now their examinations are conducted in the month of December,
Yeah, yeah.
which is before their boards.
Hmm.
Right? So, keeping that in mind, she's asking you how many hours should one devote daily to Clat?
So I think it's unfair to put a number on it. It's primarily how much so if you are, say, starting right now and it's already May, and you have some April, May, June, July, August, September, 6 odd months to go, then you need to just come up with a idea of what exactly am I supposed to do in these 6 months, how much I am to cover this month, how much I am to cover this week, and just apportion it accordingly, because it won't matter if you're sitting for 6 hours and you're doing the same questions, or if you're doing one mock for 6 hours and you think that I've devoted 6 hours to CLAT. You really haven't. You need to just come up with a smarter way to budget your time, because at the end of the day, you might be sure that I want to do law, but if you are also keeping your other options open, your boards are equally important. So I would not say that you can put a number on it. I feel like you should just apportion your subjects, or whatever you have to do in these 6 months, and break it down on a weekly or a daily basis. See how much you're able to cover. See whether you want to do it on weekends, whether you want to do it on weekdays, because you also have school up along with it. I think that would be the best way to go about it.
Right. Now, the next one is Sohani says, what is a better college, going into a lower rank NLU or a private law college?
I think that's a very personal decision, because the lower rank NLUs also are there are there's a lot of disagreement with respect to what exactly would you say a lower rank NLU is. Some people would say that, oh, anything below 6 7 is a lower rank NLU, but I beg to differ on that. So whether or not you want to do that is something, a very post facto analysis that you should do once you are done with CLAT, as opposed to having that in your mind right now. Because if you're starting behind the eight ball right now and thinking no lower ranked NLU or private university, then you're not putting that much of an effort. Just try and do something with the exam first. When the results are out, then obviously you'll have enough time to make that assessment.
Yes. Next is Jyoti. Jyoti says, did you appear for ALIT?
I did. I think I got in the 70s or 80s some rank, but I was sure that I wanted to go for NLS, so I didn't consider NLUD as such.
Okay. Soumya says, I wasn't a very good student in English, so how can I improve my vocabulary?
I think you should speak to Surbi ma'am. That's the best option. Because, but other than that, what you can do is what she's been telling you in all your classes, that do word power made easy. That's book actually. For the first 6 months, I also didn't believe her as much, because I thought that itni moti book to nahi hogi.
Yeah,
But after 6 months, when you pick it up, even if you are able to do 10 20% of it, you still see a marginal difference in where you start and where you end up.
right. Okay, so we have another question. Got the much needed clarity, sir. What are the various career options in corporate law field?
So that's the field is very wide. We have things ranging from project finance, which deals with renewable energy or electricity projects or all of these things, to dispute resolution, arbitration, intellectual property, competition law. And that's something that you will be able to understand more clearly during your 5 years of law school when you are actually interning in these places. Because right now it might seem like a very distant future, but you get a much better idea when you're working in those teams or working or studying those subjects. And if you have any specific question with respect to corporate law or whether which particular field you want to talk about, I can talk about that. But as such, there are more
If you
than
can
10
just
fields in
give them
corporate.
a little bit of an idea as to like five, six, you know,
Okay.
areas that they can get into.
So
Banking. Hmm.
one would be general corporate. They primarily do everything ranging from organizing your board meeting so that you are on track and you are MCA compliant, to trying and understand what all certifications or what all approvals you need if you want to start a new business in, say, Brazil. So that's a very wide ambit of work. The second is mergers and acquisitions. If two companies want to amalgamate, two companies want to demerge, or start two companies want to come together for a joint venture and open something new, this is the area of law that these are the area lawyers that they actually go to for helping them structure their deals. Then there is banking finance, which does a lot of stuff from cryptocurrency, regulating cryptocurrency and in the country, which right now is a very niche area, to maybe getting your debts listed. So there are shares and debentures, and what would be the preferred medium for you to raise money, all of these considerations. This is the team that you would talk to. Other than that, there's, as I said, project finance, which helps you come up with structures with respect to any deal that you might want to do in energy law. And frankly speaking, I know very little about this area because I never interned there. It didn't appeal to me a lot, but there are people who really find it interesting and do that. Then there is obviously competition law. All the Google fines that you hear of, the exorbitant 1,000 crore fines that CCI keeps putting, there are a bunch of lawyers who are working to enable CCI to put those 1,000 crores. There are also a bunch of lawyers working to stop CCI from putting those fines. So there's also a tussle going on there. Um, that those are, I think, the five biggest fields in corporate law.
All right. So I think that is all. I think the questions have ended, but I'd like to ask you one last question
Yes,
from my
ma'am.
end. One amazing thing about law and one really, really, really bad thing about law as a career.
One amazing thing about law as a career is being aware of the law of the country that you're living in is very empowering in itself.
Yes.
Just knowing what are your rights, knowing what kind of things you can do, what things you can't do, and being able to explain that to someone as simple as your own parents, that, oh, this is the reason why this happens. Or doing that after you get into a law college, the first year you consider yourself a lawyer, where you are giving legal advice to everyone, which you should not. But just knowing the law of the country that you reside in is very empowering. A bad thing is that law is a very jealous mistress, because there is never enough time in a day that you can give to law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. It was great talking to you, Aditya. And
Likewise, ma'am.
we from Clat Possible give you a lot of love and a lot of good wishes so that
Thank
you
you.
do really, really well. You're anyway doing extremely well. And may you do way better than this and then better than that. Right?
Thank you so
And
much, ma'am.
let's keep having these conversations. You have
Sure.
really, really inspired all of the law aspirants. I'm sure you've answered all of their questions. They are clearer now as to how to attain their goals. And well, that was why we kept this session for these lovely little babies. Yes. So thank you very much, Aditya. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, last question. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
Says BBA LLB or BA LLB, which is good for corporate law?
Then I think if you have the option of, the advantage BA LLB has over BBA LLB is, I think, the courses like sociology or history give you a little bit of context with respect to why laws of a country are the way they function. But if you are sure that you want to pursue corporate law, then BBA would be a better option because they give you a better understanding of numbers, which would be essentially what you would end up doing if you're working in a corporate law.
Right. So thank you, and thank you very much. We
Thank you,
hope
ma'am.
to do this soon.
Sure,
Then
ma'am.
take care. Bye bye.
Bye, ma'am.